Hi, everyone. My name is Kimberly, and today I'm going to be talking about the Black Mirror episode Nosedive, using Michael Fulk's concept of biopower. This episode is basically a perfect case study for how technology can discipline us and regulate society, sometimes in ways we don't even notice. Along the way, I'll bring up some critical theories along because it really shows how inequality and privilege sneaks into these systems. Um, I chose Nosedive because it's one of those episodes that almost feels too real. It made me think about how much my own behavior is shaped by ratings, likes, and approvals, even if it's not as extreme as the episode. As I go along through this, think about how often you change the way you act just because you know you're being judged. So let's start with the big question. What exactly is biopower? According to Fulk, power in modern societies isn't just about kings or governments punishing people, it's about managing life itself. He talks about two sides of this one. One is the discipline of individual bodies, and the other is the regulation of whole population. So, what makes biopower so effective is that it doesn't feel like it's force. We actually internalize it and end up disciplining ourselves. Folk was interested in how power works quietly instead of violence or punishing. It's about guiding how we live every day of our lives. For example, power shows up in schools, hospitals, even dating apps. All of these institutions shape how we act without even realizing it. That's why he called it biopower, power over life itself. Here's a quick reflection question to ponder. If power doesn't feel like force, how do we know we're being controlled? Okay, so here, one side about biopower is discipline of body. That's where individuals learn to self regulate. Think about how schools, jobs, and even gyms shape our routines. In Nosedive, Lacey is constantly practicing her smiles and her laugh in the mirror. No one's telling her she has to, but she internalizes the rules. Her body, her emotions, even her laugh. Gets all turned into survival tools in this rating system. She's not just fixing her smile, she's trying to perform an entire personality. The system makes her feel like she has to be pleasant 24/7. That's discipline. The other side is regulation of populations, how systems sort, rank, and exclude based on data and norms. We see this when Lacey can't board a flight or qualify for housing because her score just isn't high enough. She's not punished in the traditional sense, she's just simply excluded. Notice how she doesn't go to jail or face direct punishment. Instead, she simply can't access normal parts of life like housing or travel. That's biopolitics in action, reducing her entire value to a sign number compared against everyone else's. So, Folk helps us to see how these systems shape individuals and populations. But that leads to another question: who actually benefits? That's where critical theory comes in. It reminds us that these systems aren't neutral. Sure, they look objective, like everyone gets a score, but in reality, they privilege the people who already have status and push down the ones who don't. Critical theorists would also say these systems aren't an accident. They're designed to benefit certain groups over others. It looks like a fair system, but it's not. For example, someone who already has connections and wealth will always score higher. Meanwhile, people with fewer resources get stuck at the bottom. Here's another quick question for reflection. Doesn't this sound like how credit scores already work today? Okay, so this is one of my favorite scenes to analyze. It's when Lacey rehearses her expression in the mirror. She's practicing her smile, she's laughing, just trying to get the look right so she can score higher. That's textbook disciplinary power. So she's reshaping herself without anyone forcing her to. This shows how power works most effectively when we start policing ourselves. This moment is almost too painful to watch because it's so familiar. I mean, who hasn't rehearsed smiling before a selfie or worried that they'll sound funny in a voicemail or a lecture recording? That's power working through our bodies, shaping us before anyone else even sees us. Then there's the airport and housing denial. Once Lacey's ratings drop, she suddenly can't get access to the first class flights or the luxury apartment she wanted. And here's where critical theory kicks in. In in the system, it looks fair, but it really favors the elites. Higher rated people get more privilege, while people like Lacey get shut out. What's powerful here is how invisible it is. The gate agent isn't yelling at her, and in the housing scene, the landlord isn't insulting her. They just shrug and say, well, your score isn't high enough. The exclusion feels neutral, but it carries huge consequences. That's what makes it scarier than traditional punishment. Can you imagine being denied a job or an apartment today based on your Instagram ratings or followings? Finally, the wedding meltdown. Lacey tries so hard to perform for high rated guests, but it all falls apart. She screams, she curses, she loses control. She basically self destructs in front of everyone. This collapse is the moment the mask comes off. She can't maintain the performance anymore. What's fascinating is that she actually finds a sense of relief in failure. When she's locked up and stripped of her score, she finally talks honestly for the first time in the whole episode. Folk would say, wherever there's power, there's also resistance, but resistance comes with big consequences. So her breakdown, a tragedy, or is it kind of a freedom? Now, Nosedive isn't just sci-fi; it's actually super close to our reality. Think about Uber or Lyft drivers. Their income depends on ratings, so they adjust their behavior to avoid bad problems or bad reviews. Or social media, such as Instagram and TikTok. They reward you for cultivating content that fits platform norms. Even workplaces use performance reviews and credit scores to shape who gets opportunities. Let's think about this in more detail. Uber drivers often keep snacks, water bottles, and charges in their car, not because they want to, but because one bad review can sink their income. That's discipline of body, shaping small behaviors. On TikTok, the algorithm decides who gets seen. So creators discipline themselves to post at certain times, use certain sounds, and avoid saying controversial words just to stay visible. And just like in the episode, these systems aren't neutral. High status users, people with great ratings, big followings, or good credit get more opportunities. Meanwhile, low static folks are excluded. So technology doesn't just discipline us, it also reproduces inequality under the Guinness of fairness. We see this everywhere. The influencers, the verified accounts, the people with excellent credit scores, they keep getting more access. Meanwhile, the people at the bottom never get a chance. So these systems aren't just measuring us, they're ranking us and keeping us in place. So I want to pause here and ask, do you feel like you're shaping your online presence or is it shaping you? When you pick your words, your emojis, your outfits for a post, are you expressing yourself? Are you performing to fit the platform's invisible rules? My takeaway is this: in Nosedive, smiling isn't just politeness, it's survival. Maybe in our world, maybe our world's likes and ratings are like closer than we'd like to admit. The point is, Nosedive isn't just science fiction, it's a mirror of our own world. Folk helps us to see how power works through our daily lives, not just government or law, but through apps and systems we use every day. And critical theory reminds us that these systems aren't neutral. They benefit others, they benefit some while excluding others. So the real question is, are we okay living in a system that quietly shapes us into predictability, profitable categories? Or do we want to resist, even if that resistance comes with a cost? As viewers, how can we help but compare Lacey's struggles to our own? How often do we perform for likes and reviews? Thank you.